When I was playing Gex Enter the Gecko, a
No.
platforming game,
You got
a
horny?
platforming game for the fucking PlayStation. No, I got so frustrated, I almost cried. I almost physically put me into crying because I was so upset that
What
I
the
could not.
fuck?
That game had
As a
very
child.
bad camera angles, and like trying to like 3D platform with bad camera angles, it's not a good fucking.
It'll make you cry.
Yes.
Fuck you, Gex.
So the last topic I have for you guys: Do violent video games lead to violent behavior? She wanted no parts of your fucking waves, Spooch. Or Doughboy.
Okay, so I got that looks good. I got an answer for this, Tony. The answer is no. And thank you for joining the One Up podcast for another episode.
Take a sip. Take a sip. Take a sip. Take a sip. Coffee time. Coffee time.
As the proper way of the one up, we always tell people you always want to one up your day. And I am gonna one up my day by one upping Pucho.
A firehouse sub.
Oh, come on. I thought it was hooks for a second.
I thought it was gonna be something
That is
good.
a one down.
What's the
one
firehouse
I got
sub?
Did they give you the
food. I
pickle,
got
though?
food. Yeah, the
they
dirty
give you
ass
the pickle?
pickles right there.
Oh, that's fire.
I can smell
fire.
that shit.
Take a bite. Take a bite, Tony.
Oh, I'm
I
good.
want to
I'm not doing that.
do it for the pod.
Nope.
You're just gonna show us that delicious sub, and you're not gonna enjoy it at all.
Yeah, because I want to enjoy that shit and I have fucking bajos all on my beard while I'm like, that's just disgusting. There's etiquette though.
So I was thinking about this. I kind of tweeted and got some pretty I felt like some I don't know, some slight, not, I wouldn't go so far as to say dismissive, but just kind of like shut down of a conversation. But the idea of does violent video games make you violent? I think the answer is very easily no, according to studies and stuff. Don't fully believe it. I think there's still cases. Like, I'm telling you, dude, when I was 12, 13 years old, you know, a combination of puberty, a little bit of freedom, Fight Club, the Warriors video game, I was out here trying to fight. All right, I'm talking about like I feel like a lot of that came from the things that I was consuming, like at that time. And you know, I had that teen angst and you know, all those things that you go through when you know you're growing up and stuff like that. So I don't know. I haven't dug too deep into the studies to know like what their real conclusions are. I know the consensus seems to be that violent video games do not make you violent, but I wonder how many like what other caveats are. Like maybe it's saying like long term, you know, maybe short term you have a little bit more aggression or something. I wonder.
I feel like I've read a study that says that short term there is an increase in like maybe not violent behavior, but like acting out and things like that. And you see that, like, how many controllers did y'all throw as kids?
I threw
Like,
one. I threw one and learned not to do that because now I don't have a controller. I
See,
was like, I can't throw
I used
another
to punch the shit out of my PS2 remote.
I've thrown some controllers. I did like what my parents did. My parents had this thing. They were like if they caught you throwing a controller, it's like, okay, you're done with the game. You need to go do something else. You need to cool the fuck down.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously you're not enjoying yourself playing that fucking game right now, so go do something else.
no, yeah, because I mean, I do think it leads to some type of violent behavior, but not to the point where people thinking like
you
can't.
You want? Can I say
You and
one
Doe
up?
keep talking, and it just keeps like cutting off sometimes.
It's dope
really
because I
weird.
stopped because he was cutting me off.
When I was playing Gex Enter the Gecko,
No.
a platforming game,
You got
a
horny?
platforming game for the fucking PlayStation. No, I got so frustrated, I almost cried. I almost physically put me into crying because I was so upset that
What
I
the
could not.
fuck?
That game had
As a child.
very bad camera angles, and like trying to like 3D platform with bad camera angles, it's not a good fucking.
It'll make you cry.
Yes.
Fuck you, Gex. Those games
Gex
are kind of
Enter the
fun,
Gecko.
but they weren't very great.
What the fuck were the references in those games, man? Those weren't little kid references. He made like Hugh Hefner references and references to like Silver Age of cinema actors and shit. Who wrote that?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure not only does he make Hugh Hefner references, I feel like he wears the red robe with the black, like whatever that thing is called.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the question that I had, right, is, while it's true, like if we all agree that violent video games don't make you violent, maybe it's a stretch to try to like apply this to other things. But people get uncomfortable with certain types of things happening in games. Like sex being in a game is like, oh my God, like it's such a horrible thing to be in a video game for a lot of people.
What is that famous stage? No More Russians?
Yeah. No Russian.
No Russian. Yeah.
But even moving into like modern era, like PS3, like hitting pedestrians, they didn't let you used to hit pedestrians in games. They would always move out of the way and shit like that. So like in Saints Row for the 360 when it first came out, yeah, that shit was crazy when you could run over pedestrians, and Grand Theft Auto 4 let you do it.
When Grand Theft Auto came out, that opened the world up, and I think that's what people think, oh, it leads to violent behavior because now you can just walk down the street and just shoot people for no reason. And people were like, oh, what's the violence in the games? And it's like, in a way I can see what they're saying, because maybe a child really can't determine the difference of video game in real life. But that might go back to just like teaching them, like, yo, this is a game. In real life, you can't be walking around with a gun pointing it at people and shooting. Like, this is no restart. Maybe some kids have that form of problem where they can't like make the difference. But I mean, in all, I don't think it makes you violent. I just think it gets you upset and at the game because you can't beat it. Like Doe would cry, or you would punch your controller, or Mateo would throw it, or I would break it and probably never do it again because I realized, like, damn, now I can't play the fucking game because I got mad at you know what I mean? So that's probably the violence that they do to the kids. But other than that, man, I knew that Grand Theft Auto was a game. I'm not going out there in real life shooting people because that's just not how that is.
Well, I mean, these studies are kind of complicated too to read, right? Because how do you rate someone's aggression level? How do you rate whether someone's violent or not? Are they just looking at whether they've been convicted of violent crimes? Is that the metric they're using? Are they putting probes into your brain and they can read what your aggression level is? No, they're not doing that. So like these studies are not perfect. And I would agree with Booch. I think there probably is some kind of like short-term spike, if nothing else. And I'm curious, do these desensitize you to things? Is there a chance of that, whether it's short-term or long-term? Why? And it is a good question of why are certain things allowed? Like, why can we have a torture scene in Grand Theft Auto 5, right? There's that full-on torture scene where you torture that dude.
You don't remember? Go ahead, my bad. I thought you was done.
But you put some sex into a game and suddenly everyone's like up in arms. That game gets rated. What is it? X or there's the rating above MA, right? Like I forget what that rating is.
Right. I don't remember either, but I remember some like Leisure Suit Larry games had those ratings that were a little higher or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Magna cum laude. They were talking about the Cummings of college. That was pretty funny. But yeah, what I was trying to get at though was, I remember when Hotline Miami 2 came out, the trailer for the game shows like a rape scene where you're playing as this character, you kill a bunch of people, and then it's the end of the level, there's a cutscene, and then the guy basically throws a woman to the ground, climbs up on top of her, and then the screen like blacks out. And so you don't really see much. But it's the implications like, he's going to rape this woman. And people were up in arms about this. I remember people were very upset about it. And I find it interesting that I guess a lot of people draw the line at rape. But like, I mean, we are totally against murder. But like, we're totally okay murdering hundreds of people in like a Grand Theft Auto game. You know what I'm saying? I find it interesting the things that we find acceptable that could exist in media versus the things that we wouldn't accept in our everyday lives. Like, how does that become like the case? You know what I'm saying? Like, was there a time? Obviously, games are pretty new, and in Hollywood and movies and stuff like that, there's been killing for a long time. So it's not like games had to jump that hurdle. But I just wonder, like, what are the new things that for a while is going to be unacceptable in games before it becomes acceptable? Or maybe it's never acceptable. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. I know that there is some discourse about rape scenes in cinema, because I don't know, it's almost like lazy writing now. Like, you want like a woman to struggle in some kind of like action film or something, she almost gets raped, or she does get raped, and it's lazy writing, and it's just
I agree.
kind of like triggering for sexual assault victims and things like that. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. I don't know. I think that I've definitely seen films where like I feel like that the film's messaging would have changed if they hadn't included things of that nature. But it's interesting. I do definitely agree that it's lazy writing. I mean, how many fucking films can you think where like there's just been a rape scene, or there's been references to sexual trauma just for the sake of they needed a shortcut and on creating some backstory for this character,
I do think, like, remember the outrage people had on that Call of Duty mission when you're going to the airport and you're fucking blasting the shit out of innocent civilians and shit. Like, I don't know if you guys realize there was no kids or any infants or childs in that part of the game. It was just strictly adults. But still, it's like people were like, "Oh my god, like, how could they do this in a game?" I was like, I see how it's bad, right? But it's a video game. That shit happens in life. Not to that aspect, but Columbine shootings and shit. Like, I don't know if that, like, I don't know if it needed that much of uproar. Oh, my kids play it. Well, ma'am, that shit's...
I think it does. Allowing somebody to simulate a mass shooting, not very tasty. Like, it's kind of tasteless, in my opinion. Like, in hindsight, with all the stuff that's happened, like,
what does it mean? Tasteless. Like,
I mean, like allowing somebody to commit a mass murder.
Well, you're saying it's not good. I'm asking, why do you think it's not good?
Tasteless, because it just is you're putting yourself in that person's shoes, and that person obviously isn't of the right mind. It's like a power fantasy for them. I'm not too sure,
but isn't the video game like that? Like, especially RPG games, isn't that role playing? Like, you're there to live out a fantasy in some aspects. Like, we're all not fucking war heroes, but we play Verdansk 24/7. Like,
you do.
Well, I do.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
Verdansk doesn't primarily involve you killing like people who live in the area. You're killing there's like a mission, there's like a meaning.
Yeah, but like GTA, you could just rampage and kill everybody,
and
like,
bang a prostitute and then kill her and take her money, take the money back you spent.
Facts.
Like,
and no one bats an eye.
No one.
I don't know.
Like,
they find that shit funny.
What it's interesting though. Like, this is sort of what I'm trying to get at though. Is that like the lines that people draw? Like, apparently David draws the lines at shooting at an airport, but if you're just killing and running people over in the middle of a road in a Grand Theft Auto game, it's not too bad. Like, I don't see an issue with if there were kids in the game and you could just kill a bunch of kids in like a Grand Theft Auto game. Like, but I know people would lose their shit.
Imagine a game that's based on all the major shootings in the last 10 years.
You're going to a whole other degree. I'm saying, what if we just put children NPCs in a Grand Theft Auto game? People would lose their fucking mind.
Like, you push a stroller into the street and let a car hit it. Like, people would be like,
and I'm saying, like, I wonder why we draw like, there's a line there, and that's sort of what I was trying to get at. Like, granted, I tweeted like I'm curious. I was like, I had this question in my mind, like, why would people be up in arms about like rape being in a game versus like murder, even though we think both are wrong? And then someone tweeted like, murder victims don't have to play that part of the game.
Really?
And it's true. Like, there's like trauma involved. Like, someone who got raped is going to have difficulty playing or watching like rape scenes. Like, it's possible, right? And that could be like traumatic for them. And it's a fine response. but I felt like it didn't really get to the crux of like what I was trying to get at, and I feel like I could have asked a better question, because it's like, just how do we draw this arbitrary line? Because now I'm asking, okay, why is it okay to kill like adults but not kill kids in like a video game? You know,
Yeah.
it's like, I don't know why we drew that line, but I know that people would lose their mind. Like, they'll be like,
Well,
this is the
because
worst thing
it's-
ever. And even though we all agree, and the studies seem to agree that this stuff doesn't lead to violent behavior. So it's
Well,
like,
Well, I mean, it's that even crosses over into like non-video game stuff, though. I mean, like you hear about like child rapists getting killed by other prisoners in prison. They're getting killed by people that have murdered people and possibly raped people, but they were child sex offenders, so they get murdered in jail.
Yeah, they don't respect child molesters or anything in jail. That's like one of their big no-nos. Like the moment they
So-
realize that you're probably not going to make it out.
So I mean that part comes from it's the instincts that we all have to protect the young. Like it's the old school like pack and tribe instincts of there's no future for the tribe, there's no future for the society if you're killing your young, right?
Yeah.
I can see it from that aspect. Now, why we push that into a digital world where I don't know. I don't know why we keep that distinction there. Me personally, I wouldn't want to play a game that has like simulated rape scenes or anything in it. I think that would be kind of wrong. And I am torn on this, right? Because like one of y'all mentioned Columbine. There was a straight up like a school shooting simulator game that was trying to release on Steam, and they shut it down. Steam said, no, this game is not allowed on there. Steam has full on games though that feature like rape. I'm pretty sure that there's like some of those like weird Japanese hentai games on Steam that just have straight up like rape and incest.
all those like
things like that.
lolicon shit where you're like it looks kind of like an anime, and you're with like a bunch of very like teenage girls, and you're just hooking up and banging all these like children pretty much. It's like, dude, this is like straight up like rape shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, that was that game Hatred. Or I remember when that trailer came out. It was very edgy. I want to kill, and then he's just going around just being a mass shooter or whatever.
He wasn't even there to kill chaos.
He wasn't even there to kill chaos. But again, I'm still like, I could understand why that upsets people. Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like you're touching on something that's traumatic for a lot of people. Like there are people that are in fear of being involved in like a mass shooting, and there are people that are victims or no victims of mass shootings. You know what I mean? So like from that perspective, I get why people like why that would upset them. It's just, again, it's just like, if we agree that this stuff doesn't lead to violent behavior, then you're just upset about this stuff existing. It's not poisoning anybody's mind, because we already agree it's not going to lead to violent behavior. So it's like, what are we really mad about? Are we just mad that it's like a subject matter that makes you uncomfortable? Like, isn't that the point of art? Like, I don't know. I find it
gets deep.
I mean, that gets into a whole conversation right there too. Because there's lots of debate. Are video games art? Can video games be art?
Yeah, I mean, play Journey.
And what do you think art is? Everybody's different. Everybody has different views on what art is to them. You know what I mean? I think that's why art is so beautiful, because everybody can literally, like, maybe for me, I've never played Journey, but that looks really fucking good. You know what I mean? Like
Journey's beautiful.
The colors.
You and Doey were making performance art in that grocery store in Florida.
Absolutely. I agree.
Should have charged a fee.
Facts.
Yeah, absolutely. When that guy was like, wow, you guys argue a lot, I would have been like, yeah, how much you trying to pay?
I don't know if it. Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
sure you talk to your mic, though. It keeps cutting out. It's strange.
I don't know if it's because you're too loud.
It'll be fine on the local audio at least, though.
I hope so.
On the general text?
In the general text.
text.
Well, I mean, so we all kind of agree that violent video games don't make you violent, but there is violence behind it in some ways because we get angry at it, or
I don't think they make you long-term violent. I don't think that any mass shooter has been taken seriously when they're like, I played too much Call of Duty. They're like, no, you were fucked in the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there's something a little off in you, buddy.
Yeah, I
You
think it
didn't-
was the Columbine kids that were playing that game Postal or something like that.
I think they were playing a modded version of Postal or Doom or something where they had put like pictures of their classmates like into the game, and like there's something like
I
that.
feel like some of that stuff is what started a lot of like the discourse of like, oh man, these video games are gonna, and then there was that one kid who started shooting a bunch of people like on a highway or something like that, and then he was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I played GTA, and everybody was like, oh, Grand Theft Auto, and it's like,
Do
yeah.
are violent people more likely to play violent video games?
Right, that's a good question.
Are they going and they're just like playing Super Mario Odyssey and just fucking raging out? Because I get it, that gets frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
I love that game. Play Celeste if you want to get fucking.
Oh my
raged
God.
out.
But I think that's it for this episode on the One Up podcast. I do think that to all the viewers and listeners out there, we thank you. We're getting more likes and more followers, for sure, and
Some of us are
subscribers.
getting more followers.
Some of us here got more followers. Pucho and
I'm about to hit 200.
damn, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
But
I'm
yeah.
disappointed. I moved past my 69, so now I've got like 73 or something.
But didn't you lose one? Did someone unfollow you or something like that?
I lose followers all the time, dude. I don't even know what happens. I don't care anymore.
I lost no followers on the rape question, and I was certain that I would, but I asked it anyways. I was like, if someone's gonna get pissed off that I would even say rape in a tweet, they'll be like, oh, you didn't even put a trigger warning or anything, like, yeah. So I was like, dude, these people are gonna unfollow me, but maybe they're just waiting, you know, like you can't do it right away or else it's obvious, you know.
So all the listeners and the followers and the subscribers and all of you guys, we appreciate you. We're trying to break this little void that we're at to get more of you guys to listen and share it and stuff. I mean, we want exposure. We don't know what else to do. Maybe Doughboy's got to do something more elaborate here. Maybe Doughboy's got to dress up as a dolphin and just come up on the pod.
Maybe for the Halloween. Maybe for the Halloween episode.
Yo, Dewey as a dolphin would be fucking hilarious.
But once again, thank you guys for listening and watching. And I hope you guys have a one-up day. Peace.
Go one up yourself.
I hope you have a one-up day.
Yeah, it's fucking strange.